We got something special for you. Brand new series called Around the Reef. My boy Terry going hard in the paint, deleting kids with his flippers, straight up clapping bitches at the regionals. Okay, I'll stop. What's up, everybody? I bought a voice mod. I gotta use it. This is gonna be the first episode on a new series we're calling Around the Reef. I will be interviewing players that make it to the highest levels of competitive play playing Mermails. So anything like a YCS, regional, whatever. I'm going to try to interview them. I'm going to try to find them, and I'm going to have them on Around the Reef. As well as content creators that just love the deck or have made cool combos or whatever. I have my eye on quite a few people. Before we go any further, please splash that like button. Then you can doggy paddle on over to that buoy bell. Let's bank it! That way you can see all my new videos as soon as they pop up. How convenient! And click that subscribe and join the Reef. I make videos all about Mermails, all about your favorite deck. Do your boy Nepty this favor and join the Reef. For fuck's sake. Much appreciated. Alright, let's get over to Terry. I hear you did some stuff with Mermails, man.
I sure did. I went to Altoona, Iowa, and I went 6-2 with Mermail Atlanteans.
Yeah! What a champion. Man, how was the experience?
It was fantastic. Great to finally have regionals again. It was a pretty intense tournament, but managed to pull through it.
Man, that's good. I'm so glad to hear it. We need more and more people playing this deck, man. Like, I know it's an old one. It's fucking ancient as hell, but man, it still competes. It's ridiculous how well it can do.
Very explosive deck.
Yes,
very fun.
Is. So yeah, first of all, how did you get into Yu-Gi-Oh, my friend?
Me and my brother actually started at the same time, back around early 2010. Christmas about 2009, we started getting Yu-Gi-Oh cards for Christmas. And that was when we decided to actually pick up more cards and start playing the game. So it was great, and I picked up 3 Realm of the Sea Emperor Structure deck when that came out, and then eventually picked up Mermail after late 2013 or so, and it's been my favorite deck ever since.
Man, my boy. So my next question was literally, when did you start playing Mermails? But that's a wrap. You already figured that shit out.
Probably about 2014, just because the cards were expensive when they came out, so I couldn't really pick them all up at once. But when I eventually got the deck, I was just clapping people at my locals.
What did you play against in this tournament, if you don't mind me asking?
My matchups were round 1, Despia. I played against, I guess, a total of, I could go in order if you want, it doesn't matter, but
yeah, whatever you feel.
I played round 1 was against Despia, round 2 was against Despia, round 3 it was against Numeron, Ixie, Zeus Turbo, and then round 4 it was against Despia.
Oh shit.
And then round 5, after I lost to Despia round 4, I played against Tri-Brigade, bricked both games. It was the only round I bricked.
Oof.
I just drew amazing every single other game. It was ridiculous. Round 6 was a dropped player. And then round 7, I had to play against Blunderies. And then round 8 was Adventure ABC.
I would say majority of those are pretty meta decks, man. That's, I'm glad to hear it, man. I'm glad you didn't just play against, no offense to Earth Machines people, like just random rogue shit and whatever. I love Earth Machines. I think they're cool as fuck, but I'll probably never ever play them. But
I love the stress test at an event.
Yeah, you didn't go 3 rounds of Luna Lights or anything dumb shit like that. You actually went up against, people serious people. So it takes a really skilled pilot to play a combo deck like Mermails.
It really does. It really does. That's exactly right. With my hands I was opening, there was only 2 hands all day that I drew so-so, 1 maybe 2 hands where I drew like so-so where I could maybe combo off. Then that insane card that my saying is the banless will prevail, Pot of Avarice, was in one of those opening hands and allowed me to draw into 1-for-1 plus any monster and get popping off with Prince.
Yeah,
it was absolutely disgusting.
Pot of Avarice is one of those cards that, to me, it's like So I don't normally play it in my Mermail builds, but it's one of those cards that absolutely makes 1,000,000% sense to play in a Mermail deck. I'm just a piece of shit. So it's just like that card, like people say, oh, it bricks, but like everyone who has gotten a top and a regional with it and played that card played 3 and they did not brick once. So, and you're one of them, man. It's just, holy shit. I got to start playing that more and more because it's powerful. Draw 2 plus recycle resource. Fuck out of here. That shit's amazing.
There's also like more things that you can do with it as well besides just recycling and going major +1. You can put back an enemy, which is in my extra deck. So you can use it on the following turn. So if you get to a prince after you've broken their board, if they have a way to somehow disrupt it, get it off the field, etc., what have you, you can just bring it back with an easy extension setup, and you put everything back in your deck, so it just becomes that much better. You also can control your graveyard from Moon Glacier. It makes it's easy to begin with, and then it just makes it so much easier.
Man, yeah, and I've heard stories of people using Pot of Avarice and Moulin Glacing people twice. It's just like, what?
Yes.
It's fucking broken, dude.
You link it off, you put it back, and then next turn you search it again and then drop it again. I've never really done that, but it's more consistent to recycle the best cards like Hulk, which is now at 1, etc.
Right, and that's the first thing I thought of when it got limited to 1 is I was like, okay, so a lot of other decks are pretty much fucked once it's gone. But Mermails has like 4 ways to bring it back. We're not a 1 Hulk and you're done. You know what I mean?
Yes,
it's really good.
It's really just a lot better. But
yeah, what issues does Mermail have against, the whole meta as it was?
I think Mermail right now in its current situation, when you go against Despia, if you go first and you are able to correctly, I should put it correctly, hand loop and do your combos, it's just a free win, essentially. Because 3 interruptions, you got to think of it this way. Every deck this format loses to basically 2 hand traps because we have so many 1-card combos. So by hand looping and getting rid of those 1-card combos out of their hand, which don't generate any value in the graveyard, like Rive Armaseer, Adventure Pieces, etc., or Branded Fusion, for example, and then they have to play through 3 negates afterwards at a minimum. It's just impossible, basically. And going second, the reason why Water is so good is because of literally 1 card combined with Heavy Infantry, and that is Deep Sea Minstrel, this format. When you go second and they have 1 Mirror Jade face up, if you hand trap them, they're only going to have 1 Mirror Jade, or if you hit Branded Fusion, their board is going to be significantly worse with only poly. So if you Minstrel, pitch heavy to look at their hand and banish the problem, or like the monster or worst case scenario, hand trap. Yes, you can answer the Guardian Chimera play, and you can also answer the Mirror Jade at the same time without committing anything to the board. And you also get knowledge of what's in their hand, which is what won me, I would say, 3 to 4 games at this past event.
Wow.
Like, Minstrel is just a disgustingly good card.
Yeah, Deep Sea Minstrel, man, that shit's like, that right there brought this deck from being rogue, I'd say mid-tier rogue, one of those things, into absolutely fuck the competition. You can make this deck go miles. Or in this case, knots, or not, that's a speed. Leagues, we'll say leagues. I think that's a depth. Who fucking cares? You know what I'm saying? It's just,
for sure.
I'm trying to make a water theme, but I'm an idiot, so there you go. I think the Minstrel, the Deep Sea editions, I can't talk highly enough about them. They've been amazing.
The best part is, Minstrel's effect to look at your opponent's hand is never going to be power crept, because having the knowledge of what's in your opponent's hand has been valuable for 20 years. Yeah. It's just how it is.
Imagine a world where they errata it to say, you get to see a card of your opponent's choosing. like some bullshit like that.
Oh, I know, something terrible, yes.
Oh my god. Oh man. Okay, so we're gonna go through here. I have more questions, but we're gonna go ahead and quickly go down your deck list here, and you can go through it if you would like.
So I'm gonna start off with just the monsters and work my way down. The one Megalo, a lot of people were playing too because they were afraid of the pushing capabilities of the deck not being sufficient if you only play one. But you also got to think we're not exactly in Sword Soul peak prime format. Like it's still, I mean, Sword Soul's still a really good deck, and relevant in the meta. But point being is Draco Berserker the Tenny is why we would lose the majority of the time, is because you'd activate the Megalo, the first one, they would banish it, and then you wouldn't have a second one to extend, or if it got DD crowed, what have you, etc. So I opted to play the one because Avarice, you can just recycle it, and Gundy brings it back anyways, so it's just free. And 3 Tias, paired with Dragoons, heavy, etc. Heavy for going second, you break boards against Despia, pitch Dragoons, you summon anti-Nibiru combo.
Yep, broken.
Then the one Pike, part of the anti-Nibiru combo, also one Gunned, part of the anti-Nibiru combo, also just brings back Megalo to push for game. 3 Minstrel, unfair going first, unfair going second, debatingly, and
so
summoning
true.
it.
Yep.
And summoning it off of a crawling enemy to say if you have Avarice in hand, you can Minstrel, bring it back. You can Minstrel hand, hit the hand trap out of their hand. Then you can summon it with Reborn or with Coral Enemy, which is the most common way if your hand is like so. And that allows you to mill the top 3 and then set up Avarice. And you could also go plus off of it just for free.
Yeah, it sucks that people don't use that more. I use the fuck out of that. People don't realize the milling is so strong. Mill, pop, search. It's so dumb.
At the regional, I actually had one game where I summoned the Minstrel off of the Anemone, and I milled Dragoons, Prince, Heavy. Popped a card, summoned back the Heavy, and searched the Diva for free. And then I Avariced afterwards. He was so mad.
Oh my god, I'd be so salty as fuck. That's intense. That's like the luckiest mill 3. Oh my god, that's great.
I know, it never happens, but milling other things is just really good too, like the frog engine, which I'm about to get into.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 3 Diva, one of the most powerful normal summons in the entire game. Neptibus, 3 of them, best card in the deck. 3 Dragoons, basically Stratos for AC Serpent, not once per turn. It's also used for the Bahamut play, it's just insane card. Heavy, also not once per turn. And Marksman, not once per turn. So the 2 Heavy was really, really good. The 1 Marksman was not quite as good as I thought it would be, but I had debated on cutting it to 0, and here's the reason I played 1. Because you have so many effective side decking cards. In the form of Dimensional Barrier, etc. for the Despia matchup, things like that, against Birds, which is our worst matchup. I decided to play the 1 Marks because it's just another card you can side out. It also accesses Prince in worst case scenario, but
plus it's a homie, man. You got every once in a while, even if you don't believe in the fucking card, sometimes you just gotta let him, come on back and join his buddies, and then you just kick him out again afterwards. Just abuse the hell out of him. But,
yes.
Yep.
Even though I still lost that game too against Birds, I did use Minstrel to pitch Marksman, and I banished banished a bird out of his hand, the Rubino, and I used the Marksman to pop the set Bokamoon.
Oh,
so
style
before it
points.
can make it to the board.
Style points.
So even against Flunder, if they don't have you locked down a D shifter, you can still do some pretty nutty plays. It's just the trap is the really oppressive card.
Yep. And this is what I'm talking about, and I'm addressing my audience here. This is what I'm talking about when the pilot really does matter. You can take this deck very, very far, but if you have someone who they just know the bare essentials of the deck, they're not going to go anywhere. I'm sorry. They'll lose locals over and over again. You just have to study and follow what kind of lines of play you can go down, and also read your cards. People don't realize that infantry has 2 effects, marksman has 2 effects. I was gonna say Dragoons has 2 effects, but who the fuck uses the second one? I don't think I remember ever coming up, but just like the same thing with the Minstrel. It's got 2 effects. Read your shit, man. But go ahead. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, you're fine. But yes, it's very relevant. Then I played the Frog Engine because going first, it's really, really oppressive. Being able to, if you open it plus another frog, it immediately forces some kind of interaction from your opponent if you don't open Minstrel. So by establishing a Toad, if they let the Toad come to the board and you don't have an Aqua, it's still really good because you still have an enemy to summon back the swap and make the second Toad anyway, which did come up against Despia. And
I love that little interaction. It's so good.
They they ashed my Diva, and I still had the 1-for-1. Or well, I normal summon the Diva. They ashed. I chained the Toad to negate the ash, and was able to an enemy bring back the swap, and then just set up the Toad anyway, and then make Alka-Fibrax and just go about your business.
And that's demoralizing for the opponent. It really is.
And what makes it even more impressive is if they don't have Ash, they have just Imperm instead, you get the Imperm for free. So you're going plus off of using the Toad.
Yeah.
And then you get something back as a combo piece while setting up for Mulan. It's just insane. But very, very impressive card. Also, it's worth noting, and this does kind of play around this, if you have to go second, like if you lose the dice roll. If they call by the Ronin, they're kind of forced to. That means your Dragoons gets to pop off.
Right.
So that's just something else relevant. Lapis Dragon, just one of really good extender, and then the one Fishboard. Basically, people are talking about Jet Synchron being played in the deck this format with the new list. I personally haven't tested it yet, but I've known for a fact when Jet Synchron was legal back then that, in my opinion, it wasn't super great to play in this deck because we need as many cards as possible to actually summon our big monsters like Megalotius, summon the Swap Engine. We need as many cards as possible, and we need as many waters as possible. Yeah. So in my opinion, I don't want to play any card unless it does some kind of interaction with my opponent.
Yeah, so like Jet Synchron, I know, and in fact, I've just been recording games and basically doing a degenerate hand looping of the full hand loop. And Jet Synchron is absolutely necessary for your like Omegas and stuff like that to go off. Otherwise, it doesn't really work with just your Fishboard launcher. But still, like Fishboard does enough. It's a glow up bulb, but it's just great. A lot of people don't like to think about it.
It's better than Jet Synchron, in my opinion, in this deck because we just need as many wires as possible. Also, you don't want to obviously you don't want to play both.
Yeah, you also have to give rid of a card in your hand, which is another annoying thing.
Yes, Neg 1, it's basically a worse Fishboard, in my opinion, like in this deck. In other decks, it's really good, but not in this deck. Then the one Seek Out, the card that nobody wants to see, Delinquent Duo 2022. Nothing else to really explain.
Thank you for saying Seek Out. I thought I was the only person who says that shit. I've been saying it forever, and you're the first person I've ever heard that says that, so thank you.
It won me 5 games.
Yep.
Out throughout the tournament. Just not much else to say. I hit Brand Fusion so many times.
Yeah, if you break down, sorry to interrupt you, if you break down Moulin Glacier of what it does, what it gives you, it's like, in my opinion, it's probably my favorite card in the whole deck, and it's not even a Mermail or Atlantean. It's
I'd argue it's the best boss monster in the deck.
Yep.
Then the 2 Ash, the 2 Ogre, I negated Brain Fusion at a minimum of 3 times. I Ghost Ogred ABC Game 2 and Game 3 with on Adventure Brave. I Ghost Ogred it Game 2 and Game 3, so all he could do was try to establish ABC.
Wow.
So, like, Ogre, really insane. Throw that down on anything Adventure in its name, and their half of their deck is turned off. Part of it anyway is turned off.
Right.
It's just really, really good. The 1-for-1, drew this off of Avarice twice. Nuts card.
Yeah.
Call by the Grave, play around hand traps. Call by the Grave wasn't as good as I thought it would be because I didn't really get hand trapped. Like, there were times where I opened it, but it was still good for like their turn. It wasn't as good for hand traps because I just didn't really get hand trapped much. But I did like banish Albert out of the graveyard when they already summoned another one, so that was really good.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed for DPE. I use the shit out of it for DPE.
Yeah, do it in draw phase after they pop themselves.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
It's just insane.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
Or if you Minstrel heavy pop it, which I've done that, that's absolutely another reason why Minstrel is just insanely powerful going second, because you can Minstrel heavy, banish a hand trap, then pop the DPE before you commit to the board, then you just call by the DPE. But even just getting the DP off the board says you just win. Yeah. So it's just really, really good.
Yeah.
The Reborn, I've seen some people like not wanting to play this, and some people that are still playing it. And in my opinion, you should definitely still be playing it. Yeah. It's the best extender in the deck. Right. And the reason for that is you got to think about it. An enemy loses to cards like Dimension Shifter, right? Reborn doesn't. I've had times at locals where my friends have Dimension Shifted me. This actually happened at the tournament, and I reborned back his M-Pin.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And or I could have summoned back the Lancia. I used the prior turn and just locked him off again for another turn.
Right.
Like, it's just crazy.
For a 1-card addition to your deck, you get basically it's an anemone without the locking of water, and you have access to your opponent's grave. Like it's just like what? Like, why did you not run that?
Reborn back their DPE.
Yeah.
So that way they can't summon it back next turn, and then it's just insane. But
it'll always be at 1.
Yeah.
We already know it.
Oh, I know. Sadly, the one Mizuchi. This is one of the most. This is like the most powerful Mermail card, I'd say, in the deck this format, because
10 out of 10.
It stops a lot of things. It stops Dark Ruler, it stops Droplet, it stops Super Poly. Also, what was kind of crazy was back in Orcust format, when I sided in, when I was playing Going Second version of this deck, Mizuchi protected Lancia from Call by the Grave so many times when it was at 3. Because, like, you Lancia against Orcust, they can't play, they're forced to Call by, it gets negated by Mizuchi. It's just... crazy. I negated during the tournament Rive Armacia once, I negated Fusion Destiny once, and Branded Fusion once.
Wow.
It was really, really good.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, when you don't need your normal summon or whatever it is, and you could just set out any kind of Mermail monster, slap the Mizuchi just to put it out there, because then you can go off and combo off other ways, and then you're off to the races, and they can't stop you. The first thing they do, like the call buys, which is like they always try to call by the Dragoons, and it's just like, well, get fucked. You know what I mean? Like, it's great. I love it.
Yes. Also with the Mizuchi, it makes a play where you have Tias and Launcher summoned back from the graveyard, so it's going to be banished when it leaves the field. If you have a properly summoned Toad on the board, it just makes your plays that much better, because would you rather make a Dragite when you have a properly summoned Toad that's going to summon swap from deck during their turn, or are you going to make Alacia and equip Mizuchi and have Heavy in hand for 2 more interruptions? Because Alacia plus Mizuchi and Heavy is 2 interruptions. Yeah, you add that with like a properly summoned Toad and Halka Fibrax, you turn it into 2 more interruptions.
Yeah, I was playing against Sword Soul, and I forgot what they had. They had a Chen Ying or something like that, and I forgot who the level 8 is. Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about. So I put out Abyss Lacia, had a infantry in hand. So he goes and he goes into Baronne de Fleur, tries to pop the Abyss Lacia. So I send the infantry, pop it, and then I also, since she's about to die, I send an infantry from my deck to my graveyard and then resummon the Toad. It's just like, what the fuck, man? It was amazing.
Yes, I've done that so many times. People play multiple Lightning Storms, then I Toad negate, I set the Lightning Storm for free to use on their turn. They Lightning Storm again, the Toad Alacia goes, I get so much free value. I get my board back, most of it and more. I get the Toad back, I get a Toad add back from grave, and then when the Toad leaves again and negate again, you can then just get +2 again, like for free. And they just set it up for you. Alacia is just an insane card. But the Deep Sea Aria, I only play 2, and the reasoning behind that is because there are sometimes cards in the deck that you don't want to banish anyway. Like Ronin Totem, you don't want to banish your Launcher, you don't want to banish cards that you could just put back off Avarice, which I play the 3 Avarice as well. The Aria, it grabbed Minstrel, it grabbed Diva, it grabbed anything it was I needed, basically. So, yeah. And the 3 Avarice, not once per turn, Pot of Greed. Why would you not play 3 Pot of Greeds in your deck is the way I look at it.
Right.
And it's so easy to set up. I've put 10 to 12 monsters in my graveyard turn 1. It's so easy. And then just put everything back.
Yeah.
But
that's the one thing that people forget about with that card, is they forget that it lets you draw 2.
Yes.
Like, they're just like, oh, I get my resources back. Yeah, but you get to draw 2. Like, that's the point you're forgetting, is 2. So you've convinced me 100% I'm running this shit at 3.
I have Avariced into Avarice against Despia round 2, and it was not against Despia, it was against the Adventure ABC player. I drew a so-so hand and played through his DPE and Impermed. Diva got Impermed. DPE popped Prince. Then all I needed was an extension to get to TS or any extender. I Avariced, drew 2, drew another Avarice, resolved that Avarice, drew into TS Dragoons, and won the game from there because he had to use his DPE. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Move on to the extra deck. One Alacia. insane card. It got popped 3 times during the tournament. I did the Toad loop where I brought it back, a properly summoned Toad, and heavy pitched. This card also plays on around Dark Roller No More because you can pitch heavy and just pop something. It's no different from the Abyss Sphere days, except you're not playing a brick in your main deck.
Yeah, I swear your opponent never reads this card. I don't understand why they don't.
Plus it's like a mini Mistar Boy, so you boost up like Megalo. You boost up anything, which is kind of crazy. So there's that. The one Mistar Boy, against my friend at the locals before when Salad was, well, he plays Salad, but back then, especially when Salad was really good, I OTK'd him with double Mistar Boy when I was playing 2 back then, and it just makes Wolf and everybody smaller, and it just buffs your entire board. It was just even better. But
it tournament shits on that deck.
During the tournament, though, it was just mainly used for a generic water extension because you need to play at minimum a couple of water link 2s, so you can keep dumping your gray for Avarice. Also, just boosting up your board is really good.
Sometimes you need it for your Moonland Glacia out of nowhere. You might just draw the Moonland Glacia, and you just got to make it happen.
Yes. It's also Grave Control as well.
You can skip over Hulk. Everybody, no, I'm just kidding. No, just go ahead.
Yeah. Very, very crazy things. People might just summon like Desert Locust and not really have anything else planned for that. But this card does more than that. I don't know if some people have really tried this. Some people probably have. Also, or with Hulk in the extra deck, I play the Dragite as well. It's just standard. If you have a properly summoned Toad and you have Hulk, that becomes Dragite on their turn plus a discard. So like, you get the swap out, you get the Locust out. I did that so many times because like, you end your board with like Toad, Hulk, Tias, Launcher, or like you could make Dragite then in there. Just make Alacia instead, equip the Mizuchi, have the heavy, and then use the Toad to do everything. Yeah,
I think you can use Hulk, go into a Desert Locust, and then with the Desert Locust and the Toad, then you make a Omega. It's just like you just strip 2 on their turn. It's such a bummer for them.
If you have knowledge of what's in their hand, generally it's just gonna like Dragite's just insane because like you've hit the problem card with Minstrel, you controlled everything. It's just crazy.
Our deck literally gets to see our opponents through Moonland Glacia or through Minstrel. You get to see their hand. You know what they're playing.
Yes. The Hulk at 1, even at 1, it's fine because you just recycle it. The one Bujiki Ashima, this got summoned 4 to 5 times during the tournament. Just Bahamut Toad plays. Love this card. If he had a back row, there was one instance where I summoned Bahamut in the same zone. I could have popped a back row, but it just never came up. I just wanted to, but I never could. Then the one Appaloosa, this is part of how you make 7 interruptions going first, and hand loop for 2 at minimum. Just really, really good. Coral Anemone, probably the best link to water in the extra deck, if I'm being honest, because it lets you do so many ridiculous and almost unfair things. It is back then when this came out, like during Draco format, it was especially crucial because when they would Apocalypse pop your Prince, you had to have a way to get it back, especially when they had little to no follow-up or floodgate. So it's just really good. It's an extender. So
I got a technical question for you, actually. I got a technical question. Okay, so they have a Gamma. They pop your Nephthybis. They negated it. When you bring it back with an Anemone, can you use the effect again?
No. You can only use the effect of
Prince that's why. Yep, it has that stipulation.
It doesn't matter, though, at the same time, because if they hit the Prince you grab you hit the Prince, you may not get the Dragoons, but you still get the extension to go into Hulk, plays like that, and still sub a board. I mean, half decent board anyway.
All right, cool. Thank you for that clarification. Sometimes I forget because it's been a while since I've been in an actual like brick and mortar card shop and played competitively and stuff like that. So
sure. The Underworld Goddess. I just played the one. Link off DPE.
I was gonna say, can you go into the description on that one because I'm not even aware of this card.
What it does is it requires 4 more effect monsters, 4 at minimum. You can use 1 monster your opponent controls as link material to link summon this card.
Oh god!
If this card is link summoned, you can basically Gaios your opponent's board, which is skill drain them, just for monsters.
Jeez.
And it does not target, and also is unaffected by card effects by my opponent that are activated that do not target this card.
Holy shit!
So if they have something that targets, which is like bad against Striker or something like that, it is affected by it. But against Despia, they really have no way to deal with it other than to ram with Mirror Jade. They basically have no way to deal with it. It's just insane. I linked off DPE at locals. At the regional in particular, I had linked off Mirror Jade 3 times after they blew it.
Wow.
And Hauka was a stepping stone for it. It's just so easy to set up. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, the link climbing in this deck is great. Like, it's wonderful.
Yes. And the once per turn effect, if that weren't bad enough, when your opponent activates a card effect that includes special summoning a monster or monsters from the graveyard quick effect, you can negate the activations. So it's like a mini ghost spell.
Yeah, I was going to say it's like ghost spell, exactly. Wow.
I saw my friend link off a rival Agnister when he was playing Prank Kids at the regional, and yeah, the dude was so mad.
Yeah, jeez, but that's great.
Oh, yes, very good card. The one of BLS Soldier of Chaos next. I played this because I was just fearing Eldritch, because you attack over something. The protection is really easy to get because TS, Megalo, or 7s.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So is a lot of your synchros, worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
You can battle, attack over something, then gain 1500. They have no way to out it.
For real.
Some builds don't even play Guardian anymore, so they can't non-targeting zero you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just don't play it. They just play the basic engine, the best cards. So they basically have no way out this card. So
yeah.
4,500. So it's like really
that's the
big.
best part when you play like a rogue deck, and I'm talking to my audience here, and you already know this shit. When you play like a rogue deck, people around you who are playing like so-called meta decks, they change their builds to go against other meta decks, and then they forget all of the rogue decks and the cool text and weird shit you can put in there. So this is a perfect example. They adapted to something different. They changed the makeup of their build, and now you can run BLS and fuck them.
Yes, it's just insane. Like, I mean, it's also just really 4,500, so it's really huge to put under like
that's
a
big.
Toad or something. So, then the one Bahamut and the two Toad was fine. The one Bahamut was fine. Bahamut just for the Bujinki Ashima combo. The two Toad because when your first one gets stopped, you can very, very easily make another one in most cases.
Yeah.
Plus you can end just with double Toad, which is just insane. So.
Yeah, the Teos Dragoons play also to anti-Nibiru. Yeah,
it's basically an almost unstoppable combo. If they open Veiler or Imperm or whatever, it's just not enough.
Yeah, it's great.
The one Desert Locust for play on my opponent's turn, just discard card out of their hand.
I call that card the middle finger. It's just like a little bit of a. Yep.
I would call it 2 middle fingers because it has 2 wings on it. So
true.
The one Ravenous Crocodile. This is very, very, very good. Very underrated card. This card, Synchro Summon. You can draw cards equal to number of non-turners used for its Synchro Summon. Quick effect: discard 2 cards. Target card in the field, destroy it. I had a situation against Despia where Trish just wasn't a better option. So I went for Crocodile because one, I wanted to just go plus because I had a higher chance of drawing more extension or drawing into frog plays or Avarice, and I've drawn Avarice off of it many times, and just Avarice into Avarice, and then it just gets really, really out of control.
Yeah.
Plus, this is another card that plays around Dark Lord no more and Droplet. I've had many people just droplet this card because they're afraid of getting popped, and then they summon and commit to the board. Then I just pitch double heavy and pop 2 cards anyway.
Yeah.
or if it's not negated, you're popping 3. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. If Desert Locust was 2 middle fingers, this one is got him.
This very accurate, yes. Also, funny thing is, you can Desert Locust if you pitch Prince off of Alacia during your opponent's turn, bring back Marksman, and then you can quick synchro into Crocodile, then pop another card on the field.
It's just too much. Just too much.
And you get to draw a card. I mean, that never came up, but it's just something you can also do.
Right.
And then the one Dragite, the typical combo is Toad, Dragite, or no, Toad, Alacia. Well, yeah, Toad, Dragite, hit 2 cards out of their hand, hit 1 on their turn, so that's 3 total. It's 5 interruptions, pretty much.
That's busted.
Then,
yeah, that's great.
Then the one Trish, I never actually summoned Trish throughout the whole event because I was waiting for scenarios where if I have had this happen at locals when I won a locals here at Tri-State Skating and Hobbies here in Quincy, Illinois.
Plug.
I Moon Glaciad, and you hit Water Enchantress out of their hand when they're playing anything that's adventure, basically. And then instead of going into Crocodile, you can just make Trish instead, and then just banish the just banish her. It's just so good. And you also hit another card out of their hand, so that's 4 cards you're pitching out of their hand.
Yeah.
It's just
And then you
it's
have
it's just the most value.
Yeah, plus if they summon anything on the field, it just, right away you can get rid of that too, which is amazing. Like interruptions like that.
It's an answer to so many different things. Like if you summon like extend into Prince and they and you haven't used normal and they DPE pop, you can make Trish afterwards if you have access to, if you haven't used Hauk yet, and you can literally just an enemy back the Prince, summon Fishborg, summon Atias, and then banish the Prince, or banish the the DPE, a card out of hand, and then you hit like Celestial out of the graveyard. It's just really good.
That's nice. That's good.
I've done that before as well. It's just a really flexible card. I feel you still have to play it in this upcoming format, because if you play against Adventure or you play against Despia and you banish Jester out of their graveyard, that hurts. It's decent. It's better against Adventure, obviously, but it's just the principle of the fact.
Right. I think the one issue with Trish is just the summoning conditions of needing 3 materials like that.
Yes,
that's the only downside. After that, like I still think it's always worth just keeping in your extra deck. Like it's just a staple. It'll never go anywhere.
It's just an answer. Like if there's a BLS that they have, like Soldier of Chaos, if you play against a deck that actually plays it, or if you have to get over an Avermax, anything like that, just weird cards.
Right, yeah.
It just answers so many different things without having to play cards in your main deck. So.
Yeah, and I will tell my audience right now, don't try running 3 of these. Please, just save yourself.
No, please don't. It's just, it breaks.
Oh my god, they're so stupid.
I'll go ahead and move on to the side real quick.
Right.
3 Lancia. This is for birds. This is for Adventure, because you stop
birds.
Water Enchantress.
Yep.
This is also for Despia, because they go into Albion. You wait for them to commit to Albion, then you chain Lancia, and they just can't commit.
Right, yeah.
Then the 3 Dark Lord and more. This was for birds. This was for Despia.
Yeah.
Pretty good. 2 Lightning Storm. I was concerned about potentially Eldritch, because I saw some Eldritch there.
Yeah, I noticed you've been really. It looks like you're really building. Like you got your evenly matched. You got Red Reboot. You got it. Like a lot of this is just screaming Eldritch preparations.
Yes, Red Reboot is also for birds, believe it or not. So is the Lightning Storm, because you hit the trap, you wipe the Impin, or you wipe the map, and they just can't do anything. Like if you Ghost Ogre the Impin, you have a way to pop map before committing to the board, and you have the Red Reboot. It's just game.
Yeah.
But it never came up, sadly. Put it in, didn't draw it.
Yeah, damn.
The 3 Barrier, put those in against Despia. Didn't draw them.
Yep.
3 Evenly. I drew this against birds actually, and it was pretty good.
Nice. Yeah.
It's just basically a win con, especially against Eldritch. You can just wipe them. So I didn't really have to use my side deck to beat people too much. It's just my deck has just got so much popping power. It's just they just get overwhelmed.
And that brings another point in my mind. I'm just thinking, okay, so this deck right now, a lot of people they right away if they see like hand traps, they just shy away from using hand traps in Mermails. I think that's pretty stupid. You got to use some kind of form of hand traps.
I think hand traps are better than they ever have been in many recent years, because we're in a deck. We're in a format where like 2 of like really really good decks have 1 card starters, and if you hit the 1 card starters, it can just end their turn because they may have to play hand traps for the mirror. Yeah. And that conflicts with them being able to fight back against your deck. Also, as icing on the cake per se, not a lot of people that were there just knew how to play against this deck. They just didn't expect it. They really didn't. The surprise is really partially how you win. Yeah. So
it's the same thing every time. They literally have to read almost every card I have. I'm like, I know it's old, but have you seriously never heard of this deck? Like, I don't understand. Like, it's just like. But I mean, it's not as popular as people think. I mean, you're always gonna get those people who have no fucking idea what those blue shiny cards mean. So,
for sure. Yeah. I mean, funny enough, I play shiny blue sleeves for me. So shiny blue sleeves and a shiny blue deck. So.
So do I. You have to. You know what I mean? Now we're gonna get into some fun questions here. Not that everything else wasn't fun, but what is your favorite? What is your favorite splashable tech? I'm gonna say it just like that. Splashable. like maybe a card that you always throw in, or like your favorite card that just does the most, and you would never play this deck without it.
I'd say for one single card, it's probably just gonna be the Moon Glacier. Like it's just
Right.
I mean, obviously, unless like Konami power creep, like power creep's going first and then makes it going second deck format again, like Moon Glacier is just gonna be the main like OG tech card that's just gonna have to be played. It's like a staple now, obviously, but
yeah,
I guess I don't really have like many other tech cards as far as that's concerned, but Moon I'd say is like my favorite.
Yeah, I would say a close second for, at least from what I'm seeing, is Pot of Avarice right now is just busted.
Yeah,
like that shit's just
Avarice is disgustingly free. It allowed me to actually come back and win so many games, even when I was just trying to turbo through the deck. So,
have you ever thought about running any crossouts?
No, because or actually yes, I have thought about running crossouts, but the problem with crossouts, especially in a format as we're in, that we're going into, is that crossouts are better for like hitting engine cards that everyone's playing, not really hand traps. Hand traps are good to hit, but like hitting engine cards is just much better.
Right.
We're in a diverse format where that's not really the case, but there'll be some formats where it's appropriate, but I just don't think it's this one.
Yeah, no, yeah, you definitely have a point there. Plus, this deck has so many ways to just bait the shit out of people's hand traps. You don't necessarily need them, like your Frog Engine, your Minstrels, and shit like that. Like, it's all stuff they're gonna use their hand traps on. So that's a good point.
Yes.
What is your favorite extra deck monster, my good man?
Favorite extra deck monster is probably totally awesome, because it makes everyone's like faces change when they see it hit the board. It's just that's probably one of the main reasons, because like I just like it when my deck can just say no to the best decks. So that's just how it goes.
That I 100% agree that's like absolutely top 3 for me, because just being able to pop anything you choose and then you get to take it. It's just, what? That's just like,
it's,
my god,
no other card does it.
Yep, it's one of the most demoralizing cards you can see on the opponent's side of the field. It's just great. Also, okay, so for the last question I have for you, if you could design one Mermail card or water or any kind of support you could to help this deck go, what would it be?
I would definitely say, I think the Mermail main deck is doing like the most that probably can, like the best it probably can, because like it doesn't really need to be a big engine. That's one of the biggest advantages of it. As far as like one card that I could think of would be a more powerful Abyss Scale searchable equip spell. Like Mizuchi's is really good this format, but there's a lot of formats where it hasn't been so great. So so like a format or like an Abyss Spell Trap that we could search off of Megalo, that could be an extender, would be really, really effective. It could summon a Mermail monster from deck or something by sending itself.
Yeah.
It could summon Pike, and then you could pitch Prince and then just go about your business. Or like that's probably one of the other things I could think of, or just like another Mermail boss monster maybe in the extra deck.
Fantastic answer. I think that'd be so dope.
Yes, just something that is really strong, like something that has multiple effects, because when you look at decks like Klee, when those came out, they had Sacrifice that's got like 4 effects on it. It's got like 4 different things it does.
It's a book on a card,
Yes, could definitely have something stronger, but I mean, Scaled gets the job done in this format.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming on Around the Reef. I will be getting more and more people who perform well, or content creators or whatever, but you are the first, sir. You are the catalyst that started it all, so that's
Thanks
exciting.
for having me, Nepti.
What a swell lad. What a champion among men. I hope you liked that video, and I hope you like this format, because I'm going to keep on doing it if I can. Like I said before, I'm going to try to get content creators, anyone who does well at a YCS or regional. Yeah, that's the plan. I like to have conversational interviews, and the more people I meet, the more things I learn. It's always nice to meet people around the reef. You know what I'm saying? I just plugged the name. That's fine. Before I let you go, please splash that like button. Then you can doggy paddle on over to that buoy bell and spank that bitch. That bell will let you know when I put out high quality Mermail content. Pretty sweet deal. Hit that subscribe button. Join the reef. I just love listening to people talk about this deck. It stiffens my coral, if you know what I'm saying. Until next time, boys.